Minister, these two amendments are just asking for two reports to be brought forward on the passing of the legislation in relation to the impact that the social welfare changes over the last number of years have had on seasonal and part-time workers. And I know in the committee debate you said that this seems to be particularly raised from Donegal in recent times, and I take it that's not so bad, I think, because I've been raising it for a couple of years here, so I think it's positive that it has at least been heard in the department, that it has been raised from Donegal, and the questions are being brought up. Minister, basically, the reductions that took place in terms of the length of time that somebody can be in receipt of job seekers benefit over the last number of years, reducing from 12 to 9 months and 9 to 6 months, has had a disproportionate impact on seasonal workers. It's probably particularly acute in relation to the fishing industry because the length of the season has declined significantly over the last number of years, leading to a situation where workers during their layoff period can get their job seekers benefit, but because of the time limits that have been introduced, they end up transitioning on to job seekers allowance prior to the recommencement of the season again, and where they can recommence work, which means a substantial drop in income for very many of those workers when they do transition to job seekers allowance. Indeed, I know one couple who both work in the fishing industry and transitioned the year before last and had a reduction in income of about €120 a week between the two of them, which is a huge reduction, and particularly where the fishing industry itself over the years has depended on this mix between the social welfare and job seekers benefit and the working year as well, so that workers could be available to work in the factories at short notice when work becomes available, because social supports were always there in terms of job seekers benefit. And while the response of the department is that people can move on to job seekers allowance, the difference in the means testing and the assessment of earned income maybe a number of months beforehand, or 6 or 8 months beforehand, has the effect of reducing the amount of payment they can get, which is grand for the department because it saves them money, but in terms of actually the ability of people to be able to stay in the area and to be available for work when work comes back again, is having an impact. And it's gone to the perverse extent now at this stage where even IBEC are complaining about it, because it's making the availability of workers for the employers more difficult as well. So not only is it impacting on the employees, it's impacting on the employers as well, and that is causing difficulties for them. So in relation to that aspect, I think it's important that we look at it and look at the implications of actually reinstating the periods for job seekers benefit. I know from PQs that I have submitted in the past, I think the department estimated it would cost around about €39 million nationally to reinstate the periods, which in the overall scheme of the Social Department's budget is not hugely significant. I think it represents about 0.03% of the entire budget of the department. But in terms of the day-to-day lives of the people who, through no fault of their own, cannot get alternative work because of where they live and because of the lack of alternative available employment, actually would make a significant difference to their own lives. And also then, in the second part is in relation to the rates for subsidiary employment, where people can access the job seekers benefit based on having a subsidiary employment income of less than €12.70 a day, which amounts to €4,500 a year. And this was particularly stark last year in southwest Donegal, where the department, for some unexplainable reason, decided that part-time farmers were self-employed and were not available for work, and refused them job seekers benefit on that basis, when the practice they had been doing for many years would be working during the fishing season and signing on for job seekers benefit during the off period, and continuing to farm 12 months of the year the whole way around. And the notion of subsidiary employment is it's an employment that you can do while doing your main employment, and that is the process that they had been doing, but the department assessed them as being self-employed. On that basis. Now, there was, I think it was 21 cases I had in my office last year, which is probably only a proportion of the amount of people that were affected, but 18 of those were successful on appeal, where the Social Welfare Appeals Office accepted that they weren't self-employed and that they were entitled to have their job seekers benefit. And the €12.70 per day rate hasn't been increased since 2007, I understand it, and I believe that that rate should be relooked at and should be looked at actually increasing that, and I would hope that a report such as this would actually address those issues. And interestingly, in relation to it, and PQs that I had in the department actually wasn't able to put a cost on the effect of actually increasing that rate, which I think signals even more that there should be some study done within the department to assess that impact and to assess the impact that it could potentially have. So, and that's why these two amendments have been brought forward, and I would urge the Minister to actually take them on board. I think that the reports are something that could be prepared very easily within the department, and all the information should be easily available, and it's important that we have the discussion, particularly in the context of the new budgetary arrangements, where this could actually be discussed within the Social Welfare Committee and then lead into the budgetary arrangements for next year.